4th grade ELA, Perseverance. So we're going to be reading Razia's Ray of Hope, One Girl's Dream of an Education. Written by Elizabeth Sunby and illustrated by Suzanne Verlist. If someone has a ray of hope, what does that mean? What are some times a person might feel a ray of hope? The main character of the story is Razia, is fictional, but the story happens in a real place, a village in Afghanistan. It talks about a real situation for many girls there. Why do you think might give Razia a ray of hope in this story? My cousins and I raced down the road to see what the excitement was about. Men and women were gathering around the empty lot in our village. Anytime we played in that lot, I'd found shards of clay tiles and not much else. This day, ribbons brightened the dry earth. Important-looking adults were laying a large stone on the ground. Women passed out chocolates wrapped in shiny papers. My little sister Zara and I collected as many as we could and stuffed them in our pockets before asking for more. So it sounds like something important is happening at this empty lot. What do you think is going on? My grandfather spotted us and walked over. I hung my head afraid he would scold us for taking more than our share of the candy. Instead, Baba Ji pointed proudly to the large cornerstone. This is where my school once stood. I know Baba Ji had gone to school. I loved hearing his stories about learning to read and write and calculate numbers. It sounded so exciting. What happened to it? Asked my cousin Hamid. Baba Ji looked at the ground. It was destroyed by 17 years of war. But what's happening today? I asked. The Nowruz celebrations are over. They are building a new school for girls, said Baba Ji. A school for girls. Every night I fell asleep dreaming about going to school like my brothers. Please, Baba Ji, ask Baba and Aziz if I may go. I must go. So a girls' school is built on the empty lot. It's replacing the old school that was destroyed in the last war. What are you thinking about the way the narrator reacts to the news? The narrator is the girl. That evening, like most evenings, I sat by my brothers Jamal and Karim as they studied by lantern light. They attended the boys' school in the next village. Baba, my father, worked on our farm with my uncles and cousins. My two eldest brothers, Aziz and Ahmad, worked at the quarry, cutting stones. They never wanted to go to school. Like us girls, they could not read or write. Jamal, may I have a piece of paper? I asked. Why do you need paper? You don't have homework. You can't even write, said Karim. Yes, I could write. I had memorized the Dari alphabet and I could spell my name, but I was afraid to tell my brothers. What if they wouldn't let me sit with them? I kept quiet. Whenever I found Baba Ji alone, I would whisper in his ear, have you spoken to Baba and Azaz yet? I will, my dear Razi. Baba Ji would say as he patted my head, it was always, I will. So I turned to my mother for help. Bibi, have you seen what they are building on the empty lot? Baba Ji says it will be a school for girls. Yes, I know. Bibi answered as she hurried me and Zara to join our cousins. They were on their way to the village tandoor to bake naan for dinner. I took my sister's hand. Please, Bibi, I want to go to school. Girls from our village are registering. Girls from other villages, too. Sarah told me when we played hopscotch yesterday. Bibi handed us our dough and shooed us out the door. I called back, I need to learn to read and write, Bibi. I promise to teach you. Please talk to Baba and Aziz. I will, said Bibi. She sounded just like Baba Ji. A tandoor is a clay oven used to prepare food such as naan, which is a type of flatbread. Months passed as I watched the school rise brick by brick from the dirt, but neither Bibi nor Baba G ever had an answer. At the beginning of March, the construction crew covered the bricks with white stucco that made the new school shine in the sunlight. They painted the door red, as bright as the flames of the tandoor. Each morning as I swept the courtyard, I heard girls chatter about the nice women who started the school and the teachers from Kabul. Each afternoon as I fetched water from the well, I saw girls on their way home from registration, carrying crisp new school uniforms over their arms. One night, as I lay on my mattress, I heard Baba G call my father, brothers, and uncles to a family meeting. I propped myself up to catch every word of their talk. Baba G started their jirga. Razia wants to attend the new girls' school in the village. I support her desire. Some of you are too young to remember, and some of you were not even born, but before the occupation of our country, before the civil wars, and before the Taliban, women in Afghanistan were educated. They were doctors, government workers, and journalists. It is time to give our daughters and granddaughters in the Hadish Sobs the chance to read and write. Our family and our country will be stronger for it. I couldn't believe my ears. Would I be allowed to go to school? The jirga continued. It was Uncle Iqbal's turn to speak. Our girls need to help their mothers at home. We need Razia to work in the orchards too, Uncle Ali added. Our trees are just coming back after years of drought, and Razia's harvests almonds and peaches faster than any of us. Razia can complete her chores before and after school. That will be the condition of her enrollment, Babaji replied. Next, you'll want Razia to go into town to shop by herself, said my father, wrinkling his numb forehead, or for women to shed their burqas in public, my brother Ahmad added. My brother Aziz ended the jirga. Razia is not going. Those 4 simple words made my heart sink. Why won't Azza let Razia go to school? Does he have a point about girls needing to help their mothers at home? The next morning I woke with the sun to practice my reading from under my pillow. I took out scraps of newspapers that the baker wrapped around our freshly baked naan. Even if I couldn't go to school, I was determined to be the kind of woman Baba G had described, a woman who helped others through her work inside and outside her home. After my morning chores, I walked to the school. I passed the stone wall being built around the school grounds, and I knocked on the bright red door. A woman opened it and greeted me with a smile. Hello, my name is Razia John. Come in, please. I entered a different world. Fresh white hallways, clean classrooms with desks, chalkboards, books, paper, and pencils, all in one place. It was unbelievable. I introduced myself. My name is Razia, too. I want to come to your school, but my brother and father will not give me permission. I told Razia John what I'd overheard at the jirga. Razia John offered to come home with me and speak to Baba G. Maybe together they could convince the other men to let me attend school. So do you think Razia John should talk to Baba G? What do you think? As soon as Razia John and I arrived, I ran off to find Baba G. Baba G, the Mulim Shaba from the new girls' school, is here to speak to you. Please come get her. Bring Baba and Babi. I spoke a mile a minute so as not to waste any time. Baba G didn't look surprised to learn I had gone to the school on my own. He and Razia John spoke privately for several minutes. Then Baba G excused himself to find my father and mother. I stayed out of sight when the 3 returned to speak to Razia John. Razia John thanked my family for their time. Then she described how her school would teach Dari, English, Pashto, math, health, hygiene to younger girls. As the girls got older, the school would teach them how to read the Quran, as well as geography, science, history, and algebra. Razia John also explained how her school would provide textbooks and uniform and healthy lunches for all students. Best of all, she said the school would be free. Baba sounded surprised to hear about everything the school would provide. He told Razia John he would speak to my brother Azza when he returned from the quarry, but just then Ozzy walked in. Babaji spoke up. Aziz, I did not realize you were here. You were home. Razia turned and introduced herself and her school. She knew Azad was the one to convince. I ask you for your tolerance, if not support, for Raza's education. Please consider, if men are the backbone of Afghanistan, then women are the eyes of our country. Without an education, we will be blind. Azad shook Razia's hand and walked out of the room. I followed him. Agajan, why are you home so early? Are you feeling sick? I asked. His face was pale and sweaty. Yes, I have a fever. My body aches all over. I stopped for medicine on my way home, but I need Quran or Jamal to read the directions to me. Please get me some water. Azad closed his eyes. I poured a glass of water and brought it to Azad. While he dozed, I picked up the medicine bottle and slowly sounded out the directions. I looked up and saw Azad watching me. How do you know how to read? He asked. I listened to Jamal and Karim study every night, I said, counting out his pills according to the directions. Please, Aga John, please let me go to school. I will be able to help the family even more if I do. Azad took his medicine and smiled. Then he went back to rest without uttering a word. Only a couple of days remained before Naraz and the opening of the girls' school. I sat on the stoop scrubbing potatoes for the evening soup. If I could not attend school, I would ask my friends to share with me what they learned every day. That would be second best, yet far from perfect. As I picked up the last potato, I heard Azad approach. Razia, he said. I peeled the potato quickly to avoid his gaze. I have reconsidered. I learned this morning that stones from my quarry are being used to build a wall around the girls' school. Ozzy paused. I did not move or make a sound. Now I trust that you will be safe in that building. My precious sister, you may attend Razia Jan's school. I couldn't contain myself. I leaped up and threw my arms around Aziz. Ozzy, I promise to stay clear of danger. Thank you, Aga Jan. But you must complete your household chores before and after classes, Ozzy continued. I will not let you down, Aga Jan. Thank you. What made Azad change his mind about Razia's going to school? What new things did you learn about why he said no in the first place? Soon after, my family celebrated Naraz in the orchard. We picnicked under the almond blossoms that were the first blossom of the spring, and now the sign of a new school year. On the first day of school, Razijan greeted all the students at the gates of the Zabwa Education Center. Salam alaikum. Welcome. She patted each of us on the back, and we walked through the bright red door of our beautiful new school. I was led to third grade classroom. My teacher introduced herself and then asked each of us to say our name and what we wanted to be when we grew up. My friend Sarah threw her hand up first. Malam Shabal. My name is Sarah, and I want to be an engineer when I grow up. What's an engineer? Mara blurted out without being called upon. I am too young to know that, but when I become one, I will tell you all about it, Sarah explained. Rala waved her arms, then our teacher picked her next. I am Rala, and I want to be a doctor. I will build a clinic on our village and treat all the children for free. I spoke last. Mullah Shalab, I have always dreamed of being a teacher, and I promised my mother and my oldest brother Aziz that I would practice on them.